Zero is not an empty space. It is a heavy, concrete pressure.
To the world, Kai is invisible. A ghost in the financial machine. Society ignores the stationary. It only tracks the moving numbers. At the 0 point, survival biology overrides every creative ambition. The digital ledger reflects nothing but a clinical, deafening silence. This is the glitch, a state of existence without economic data. The darkness here is thick. It absorbs every attempt to escape. Most will never leave this room. They are paralyzed by the cold. But Kai is different. Kai begins to map the shadows. The deconstruction begins here, at the very bottom of the void. Zero is not an empty space. It is a dense architecture of habitual failure. Social loops reinforce this lack. We trade our future for temporary belonging. The brain craves purchase dopamine, masking the heavy pain of the financial void.
Comfortable poverty is the most dangerous glitch. It feels safe. It is lethal.
The noise of modern life distracts from the crushing silence of the bank account. Biologically, your mind fears the unknown. Accumulation feels like an evolutionary threat.
At zero, you do not own your time. You simply rent your pulse.
The paycheck cycle is a closed circuit, a loop of survival, never growth.
Lack is a structural design. You inhabit a machine you didn't build.
To break the cycle, you must first acknowledge the walls are not real. The first glitch is realizing you are the product in every modern transaction.
Consumer logic is a closed loop designed to keep your balance at zero. Status is a debt you pay to people who do not actually matter.
Kai stops. The noise of the market becomes a low, vibrating hum. The pivot requires a brutalist rejection of the dopamine economy. Identity is rewritten. You are no longer the target. You are the architect. Leverage is the crowbar that cracks the ceiling of linear wages. In this concrete void, only output has weight. Consumption is just air. To move toward 1 million, you must first become financially invisible.
The pivot is locked. The game of accumulation begins in the silence.
To escape zero, Kai must stop consuming and start extracting value. The market is chaotic noise. Kai seeks the hidden structural anomaly.
Skills are not born. They are mined from the concrete of necessity.
Every movement in this void must serve a tactical, cold purpose. Efficiency is a trap. Kai chooses high-leverage, brutalist effectiveness instead. Refinement is lonely. Mastery occurs when the world isn't watching.
The void provides no praise. It only provides data feedback loops.
Kai observes structural flaws in the market's obsolete, decaying systems. The extraction is complete. A raw skill becomes a sharp blade. The foundation is set. The market waits for the first strike. $10,000 is the first seismic shift in your digital reality. But the primitive brain registers this gain as a survival glitch.
You feel like an intruder in your own bank account. The biological urge to purge the surplus begins. This is danger.
Imposter syndrome is simply a failure to update your internal identity. Kai stares at the threshold. The concrete walls begin to vibrate.
Validation is a drug that the rational mind must learn to refuse. Fear whispers it was luck. Logic demands it become a system.
The shock fades, replaced by a cold, clinical demand for more.
10,000 was the base camp. Now, the air gets thinner. $50,000. For most, this feels like a final arrival.
But it is a trap. A psychological glitch called compounding ego. The biological urge to signal status begins to override mathematical logic. You start negotiating with your future. One upgrade won't hurt. Lifestyle inflation is a parasitic drain on your kinetic momentum. Comfort is the enemy. It kills the hunger required for scale.
If you spend the surplus, you reset your clock to 0.
The math does not care about your desire for external validation.
To survive this glitch, you must choose to remain invisible. Kill the ego. Keep the concrete. The real work begins now.
100,000. A milestone that suddenly feels like a concrete wall. Here, the correlation between your effort and the reward snaps completely. Welcome to the plateau, the sensory deprivation chamber of financial growth. You are doing the work, but the needle refuses to twitch.
This is the valley of death. Most momentum dies in this silence.
Biological impatience is the primary glitch at this specific depth. The brain craves novelty to escape the brutalist repetition of the grind. Strategy hopping is a fatal error. Stay locked in the algorithm.
Wealth at this stage is a game of purely digital endurance.
Ignore the silence. The foundation is hardening beneath the concrete. The greatest threat to scale is no longer the market. It is you.
You are the bottleneck. Your biological limits are the glitch in the system.
To advance, you must codify your intuition into cold, repeatable logic. The machine does not tire. The machine does not have a bad day. Transferring authority from your ego to the algorithm is a surgical act. The $100K plateau is broken by systems, not by working harder.
You are building a ghost in the machine that operates while you sleep.
Detachment is the ultimate leverage. If it needs you, it is broken.
Eliminate the human variable. Standardize the output. Automate the growth. The machine is now live. It functions in the dark. Without you. Approaching $500,000 isn't a victory. It is a clinical isolation chamber. Social circles become noise. Noise becomes friction. Kai chooses the silence. Empathy is a high-cost resource. At this level, Kai cannot afford the spend. The calendar is empty. The bank account is full. Both feel heavy. You stop feeling the wins. You only feel the logic.
This is the emotional tax. A quiet, brutalist surcharge on massive growth.
Every interaction is now a transaction. Kai measures the return on every word.
The world loses its color. Only the grayscale remains functional. Isolation isn't a side effect. It is the engine's primary cooling system. You are halfway there. And you have never been more alone.
The final 10% is the quietest. Momentum has finally replaced effort.
The numbers move with algorithmic certainty now. You are merely a spectator.
There is no finish line tape, only a cold shift in decimal points.
The air in the concrete void grows thin. The threshold is near. 999,000. The biological heart beats no faster.
An abrupt, hollow off-screen narrator says, 7 figures. The glitch has been fully exploited. The screen blinks.
It is remarkably silent. The world did not shift its axis.
You expected a chemical surge. You received a data update. The concrete is still cold. The matte white form remains unchanged. The million is not the prize. It is the receipt for your sanity. You crossed the line. The numbers changed. The air stayed exactly the same.
The dopamine spike you expected? It never arrived. Just cold, digital silence.
7 figures secured. Yet your brain still scans for threats like it's 0.
This is post-wealth dysphoria. The internal hardware is still running the scarcity glitch.
You still count the pennies. The habit of lack is deeper than the balance.
The brutalist walls haven't moved. Success didn't provide an exit, just more concrete. You wait for the alarm. The phantom fear of total collapse persists.
Isolation is the tax on the first million. There is no one to celebrate.
You look at the reflection. The version of you from 0 is still there.
The million didn't fix the glitch. It only gave the glitch a larger playground.
The first million is not a reward. It is an architectural milestone.
You have built a machine that no longer requires your physical panic. Silence the biological urge to spend. Maintain the cold, clinical distance.
Brutalist discipline is the only thing standing between growth and total collapse.
Wealth is a fragile geometry. Protect it with ruthless, calculated logic.
The glitch has become your operating system. You cannot return to the baseline.
Numbers are merely data points in a long-term experiment of self-control. Look at the concrete void. It is no longer empty. It is structural. You didn't find a shortcut. You recoded your own fundamental reality. The 0 point is gone. The machine remains. Welcome to the glitch.